Brundlefly. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Politics and Movies. And we got a lovely guest today. We got friends. We got Billy. Billy's our friend.
Grundlefly.
Yeah. We got
Grundlefly friend.
we got the Brundlefly.
Grundlefly.
And as you might have guessed, today we're talking about the 1986 cult classic, The Fly, starring Jeff Goldblum. It's a 1986 American science fiction horror film, written and co-written and directed by David Cronenberg, and it stars Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis, and John Getz, and it's loosely based on George Langeland's 1957 short story of the same name and the 1958 film of the same name. And the screenplay was also written by Charles Edward Pogue.
God, you
And
really are going to
yeah,
just list all of it.
I list the main facts. That's what it's about. We got to get the facts out there before we start into our goofy speculations. And starting off, let's talk about the plot of this movie. Um, this movie is about Seth Brundle, a brilliant but eccentric scientist who meets Ronnie Quaife, a science journalist, at a press event, and he shows her his teleportation experiments, and
And his
it,
cock.
his cock. Yeah, yeah. There's a bit of a sexual component there, and it goes from there, and it goes horribly right or horribly wrong, depending on how you see it, because there are serious scientific implications. But yeah, Seth also faces some pretty bad body horror. And right off the bat, do you want to talk about that, about how this relates to some other movies that we've covered in the past, like
Like we've
the
covered so
substance?
many.
I mean, I've covered a couple with you, and I've covered a couple with GS, so that's four. That's a handful.
I'm sure. Have you guys talked about any horror, body horror stuff yet?
Yeah, we talked about From Beyond, which is pretty much the same kind of realm, except instead of like just body horror, it's also like um extra dimensional horrors, like stuff from other dimensions.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
It's very Lovecraftian.
I see. Yeah. Um, no, I
Well,
like how I
I,
like how out there this body horror is, but how out there in that he's becoming a fly as a human, but um, at the same time, a lot of everything tries to be grounded as possible here. Um, even as like he's becoming more of the fly, even his motivations are still, you know, as grounded as they can be for someone going through this very precarious situation. So I really like the body horror here. It's not as over the top as you'd expect Cronenberg to go. It's actually kind of restrained, in my opinion. It does go to its over the top place in the end, but of course it has to do that in the end. It's the end.
yeah, and it's definitely much more over the top than the in the original, but it has to be, right? It's it's Cronenberg.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even the original. I just told you this over our call. Like original, the horror of the end does it actually got me a little bit when I first watched it. Like I got that little tinge, of like, oh, this is actually like existential horror for me. I would never want to be this fucking little fly running around just watching everybody
Yeah.
fucking kill me.
And he does die.
Thank God.
Unfortunately, in the remake, it takes a shotgun.
It takes a fucking lot.
Yeah.
Well, he's not a big husky, half human, half thing in the or in the original. What was it? Was it? It wasn't a teleporter in the original, was it? It was another like device kind of mechanism.
Thought it was still a teleporter.
It was. I mean, I could definitely
I
be
think
wrong.
so. You know what? Let me look it up real quick. Just why not? Molecular transporter. Yes, same thing.
Okay. I find the idea of the teleporter like of that being the kind of that being the kickstart to the plot. That's so interesting. You know, that's the way he becomes the Fly, because you wouldn't kind of intuit that the teleporter is the thing that's going to scramble his genetics. You think that it would be, something else, or I don't know. I think that's such a interesting way to do it. Like the original premise is um so interesting. It's so novel.
Yeah, no, and it makes sense from like a science fiction perspective, like, oh, like it's supposed to just be your genetic code, but there's another thing in here and the computer gets confused and merges the two together. I think that's really cool. Yeah, so the way it does that. The by it, I mean the screenwriters.
Well, where do you want to start here?
So, I've got a couple of notes. Let's start with something easy. Let's start with I really like how when it's first getting started, he first enters the machine, he comes out and he's he's feeling stronger, he's feeling more alive, he's feeling invigorated. He says one of the things he says is it live or is it Memorex? Like in reference to is he a more um complete version of himself, or is he something different? This is in reference to the slogan of the company Memorex, a computer tape producer that expanded into other areas, but it ceased to exist after 1996. But it was best known for consumer electronics. Its slogan was "Is it real or is it Memorex?" which was used to question the authenticity of something. The phrase originated from Memorex's claim that a cassette recording of Ella Fitzgerald hitting a high note could break glass.
I would have never understood this fucking dated reference in all of my life.
So I thought that was interesting. What do you think?
No, that's interesting. Yeah, I obviously when I watched it, I did not get that. I did not know what the fuck Memorex was. I thought it was just like a throwaway kind of. I thought it was like a prescription kind of drug or something he was talking about, that like he uh he felt like he was more than himself now. But that is interesting. Like that he comes out just questioning himself immediately, feeling his strength immediately, and just you know already he's scientifically. I don't even know if it's a scientific kind of thing that's happening in his brain at this point, though. I think that his hubris is taking full control at this moment starting, and it keeps going. You know, he's so infatuated with this entire mechanism now. He's so um, in love with it and thinking that he's solved something and that he's so much stronger and so much more. So I do think that that line kind of helps indicate that a little bit.
And it's interesting because I think it leads to one of the strongest political talking points of this movie, which is toxic masculinity. How much of this plot is due to this overconfidence, this overabundance of like masculine energy that is exhibited by not just Seth Brundle, but also by the other guy, Gina Davis's ex-boyfriend,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Both of them.
Stathis
Um,
Borans.
it's interesting because Seth is such a lot of nice guy energy at first, you know,
Yeah, but
and
like nice guy or nice guy?
no, like nice guy, like the nice guy. He's obviously kind of a nerdy scientist who doesn't really empathize too well. It's hard because he's a nerdy scientist, but he has so much charisma because of the actor playing him. So I mean,
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum is great.
Jeff Goldblum can't play like a nerdy shut-in guy for his life. He's still somehow fucking charismatic. he, he tries to he puts on the shy act well, you know, more than you'd think he would. But it is very funny that like he can't play, he can't not be charismatic. But my original point just being that like the roles are kind of reversed in the beginning. You can see elements of how Seth will get to being toxic, but it's not quite there yet. The other character is very much toxic, very much wanting to exploit Seth, and it doesn't even believe Seth in the beginning. Um, but it it's interesting that to go along with your toxic masculinity point, the whole thing that kickstarts the plot of Seth wanting to just test it on himself is getting drunk and then not believing that his partner is not cheating on him, you know?
Right, exactly. It's
Like,
just a toxic insecurity, and yeah, it leads to him making this brash decision.
yeah, exactly. He just goes with his impulses as he will do for the rest of the movie till he dies, and he uh, steps into the machine, and then his impulses later on are just kind of like I find it interesting that toxic masculinity is portrayed as like animalistic behavior. You know, like he's
Yeah,
becoming Brundlefly. He's 50-50, or becoming 50-50 as the as the computer says. And toxic masculinity is him embracing what it's like to be a full animal. Like he doesn't listen to people. He doesn't his conversations are so one-sided. You know, he's only driven by his own needs. Doesn't He's still cares about his partner a little bit in the beginning. You know, he cares when he upsets her, but then even that eventually is overridden by this animalistic, pure, you know, pure Brundlefly mindset.
yeah, he becomes like pure id, as GS would say.
Yeah, he does become pure id. He's gotta fuck, and he gotta fuck a lot. he he loves to, and his fucking definitely seems very one sided. You know, I'm sure that people enjoy it, but he's just kind of he's very um egoistic in his everything. So I do find that like that read to be very obvious but very interesting. Just because of how much we see his change as he becomes the Brundlefly, and even how much we see the other character react to him becoming Brundlefly. You know, like the other character, his he becomes a lot more likable, which I did not see that coming. I forgot that that happens. Since I had watched this movie before, but I was like, oh shit, he's actually trying to help right now, and he's he doesn't seem like an awful person right now. Um, so it's interesting to see those roles kind of reversed a little bit.
Yeah, and, I do think it's interesting, though, as the movie progresses and it gets closer to the ending, he completely gives in to the fact that he is losing his humanity, and he acknowledges that by, hatching this cockamamie scheme to, kidnap someone and, fuse with them in an attempt to retain some of his humanity, and, in the very final act of the movie, he, uh resorts to kidnapping, Ronnie and attempting to fuse with her and, his unborn child.
I'd love that shit. Honestly, it's a. I know I didn't really talk about the substance when you gave me the chance to, but um, I will like. Obviously, you gave me the chance to, so I need to revert back to talking about the substance. But it's the same idea of something I said there is using your premise to the fullest extent. You know, and definitely feel that here, of course, because I I really like how much restraint there is, but then going all out for that final act of just crazy shit happening, kind of similar to that movie. You know, I love it. Like that is definitely because he's he is like he's still kind of a scientist at heart. He's still just trying to think of the ways kind of scheme his way back to survival, and that makes the most sense to him. He doesn't care about his unborn child at that point. He's just purely thinking, what can I do to survive? um the instincts of an animal have like fully kicked in. The empathy's gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it also says a little bit of a scientist as well. Um, how much empathy does some science have? Some science just seems very cold. I mean, um, it's this is part of what I was thinking of my interpretation of things. Obviously, he doesn't have a lot of ethics. I think like it's very apparent from the beginning. They try to hand wave it that he is still following precautions with the animals, but honestly, I that would never be approved. Him testing the animals like he is, like testing the what is it, a pig? That he
No, it's a baboon.
oh, it's a baboon. I
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
2
saw it a
different
month
baboons.
ago. Two different
Yeah.
baboons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just kind of like being a little negligent, letting animals die, and putting them in situations where they can easily die, and it reflects back to him, like with his own ethics. He obviously it's apparent he doesn't care too much, or and this is the more likely. He's so driven by this need for discovery, his own hubris, that's overridden everything. It's the same thing with the animalistic behavior. It takes control, and all the other stuff is void and not as important anymore. Here, he, as a scientist, he's so keen on making this important, beautiful discovery, and it's apparent when he's talking to Ronnie that he's so, he needs to talk to someone about it because he's so proud of himself, and he he's gonna test on animals. He's gonna do some crazy stuff like test on himself without really giving it much more thought, and he's gonna make those mistakes because his need, his uh, his project is so important to him. And I do think it relates a little bit into science and our own discoveries, and just how far will we go, and how far of this is actually humane. How much of this is, actually approved. We talk about some of the experiments that happened. Um, the prison experiment that happened in the 80s. Like, was that fucking approved? No. Was that humane? No. Like, it was just a
The
guy trying
Stanford
to
prison
prove.
experience?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a guy trying to prove his point and trying to do what he can to be important. And obviously, he just had his own agenda, and he really traumatized some kids. And it's just like science can be very cold, especially because of the humans behind it. What do you think about that take?
Well, I think it's a lot like, Bill Nye the Science Guy says, "Science rules."
Let's murder some children. Abortion is cool. My child with Ronnie. Fucking abort her. She should be inside me.
Well, you wanna talk about abortion? I guess
Well,
that's a
I
political
and
issue these days.
it's definitely part of this movie.
Yes, it is.
Sure, we. Unless you had something to add on to mine. I mean, I did say a
No,
lot
no.
with it.
I really liked how you wrapped it up, though. I liked what you said, and we could, I honestly, GS and I got into it a bit while we were talking about From Beyond, so I don't have a whole lot to add, but, yeah, no, I like what you said. I like the way you phrased it, so, yeah, we
Was
could
it
leave it at
still
that.
different from what you said from Beyond?
Uh, to an extent, we got more into the politics of scientific experimentation as it regards the military industrial complex, and
Okay.
yeah, more stuff like that. And we talk about that a little bit in the episode on The Long Kiss Goodnight too, to a lesser extent.
Yeah, for me here, like that is still important, but the most important part of that to me is still like the ethics of scientific experimentation and the ethics of what a good experiment looks like, and how you get support from the system. And here he obviously doesn't have that support from the system. He says he does, but he's doing it alone, which is already a cardinal sin. And that's how his hubris gets involved into the experiment itself.
Yeah, and I think you're more qualified to speak on that than I am, but also, like he says in the beginning of the movie, he's doing this all piecemeal, and he's not telling anyone the full extent, the full scope of the experiment.
Red flag, red flag, red flag.
And, yeah, I think that's really interesting. Um, but also, what do you think? Should, Ronnie be able to abort this potentially half-fly baby, which, spoiler alert, in the, sequel, it's revealed it is a half-fly baby.
It's a sequel.
Yeah, there's a sequel.
Does
It
it
was done
actually
by the
come out of
special
her?
effects guy. Yeah,
Oh God. Why did she abort it?
I guess she chose not to.
Oh my God, Ronnie.
Maybe abortion was illegal in her state, who knows?
I can't believe we're still debating Roe v. Wade. Yes.
Oh my god, yeah.
Well, obviously, the answer is yes. You know, even if it wasn't a fucking flying man baby, she should be able to abort it regardless. Especially, you know, if he's not the man she thought he was. You know, which at this point in time, you know, he definitely is not the man that she thought he was. But I always come back to this movie and see that plot point, and it's a big surprise. Um, and I love how it's treated. You know, it's treated with so much respect, um, and so much like dignity that I kind of am sad to hear that she doesn't follow through with the abortion because that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because that's a big plot point in the movie of how terrified she is of giving birth to this creature, and then she just is for the sequel, she's just like, "Ah, whatever, I'm gonna raise this child." It's like, "What? You didn't want this in the original."
Yeah, that doesn't
Maybe
make any sense.
you could argue that with the conclusion of the movie, she felt bad because she had to kill him, and there's a lot of grief and remorse there, and she decided to follow through and have the baby. Who knows, right? Because I didn't watch the sequel. I know you didn't watch the sequel.
That might
But,
be what they do. They might say that they can't do the abortion. There's a lot of ways
maybe.
they can go through with that.
Right. You know, and it's a movie. At the end of the day, there could be any number of reasons, but the point is she decides to go through with it and have the baby, and, it goes horribly wrong again.
Wow!
Wow. Cinema.
Yeah, I I like how in here it's kinda treated like a nightmare of just thinking about what could potentially happen with this baby, and
Yeah,
honestly, for abortion itself, people who aren't in that position, that's what that's what I think, like, how it feels, you know, when you don't wanna have a baby and you're trying to think, "How can I do it?" And it's just like a nightmare of your future, you know? Uh, or you're raped and you have that baby inside of you and you don't want that baby. It's just a nightmare for you. It's like, I need this out. I need this out of me.
right. It's otherworldly being that you didn't want there, you didn't really intentionally put there, and, you want to get it out of there by any means necessary, and there's a lot of people that can't relate to that and willfully will not relate to that, to the point of putting up oppressive legislation that will end up getting a lot of women killed, especially in Texas.
Yep.
And, now that we dropped that bomb.
Yeah, it is crazy interesting that we're still debating Roe v. Wade at this point. And I only say debating because obviously um, legislation is getting passed for something that makes no fucking sense.
Yes.
Thanks, Texas.
Thanks, Texas. Real American heroes. Like a a Twitter post I saw recently, the 1 star is actually a review. The 1 star on the flag.
Oh, funny. I didn't pick it up for a second. Yeah, even in a way, like, and this is a little bit of a stretch, I know, but it still goes back to, you know, your empathy for humanity, especially in that moment for her. Like, if you really want to be driven by your religion to shut off someone else's right, You know, just like he was driven by science and by his own need to survive to shut off her right and try to take her life. It's just, it just, it's pure toxic masculinity.
Yeah. And it's selfish and it's solipsistic and you're only thinking about your own needs. You're not thinking about the needs of others.
That sucks.
Alright. It sucks to suck. Oh, anyway, if we're done with this tangent,
How
what else?
many more takes do you have?
Alright, I got one for you. I got, um I got an actual take. How about what if this is all a metaphor for capitalism?
Hey, yeah, I actually, I was thinking that one too, and I was gonna say that one too.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah, you go
ho
first.
alright, I'll go first. Basically, the way I see it, he, starts off with this boundless ambition, and he's extremely ambitious, and it leads to him achieving his goals, but eventually at the cost of his own soul, and he eventually has to rely on his loved ones for help when it eventually goes horribly wrong. And the fact and in this context, the help from his loved ones involves him getting shot in the face with a shotgun. But, yeah, I just summed it up because I know you have a similar take, so why don't you go ahead now?
Yeah, I felt the same way. I think it's interesting he uh how he is so full of this ambition. He puts everything of his into it, and he even like he even puts himself into this situation. And as soon as he does that, he loses everything about his own identity, and he becomes 50% of himself. And it's like he still doesn't realize it, you know? Like he's still on top of the world. Um, he's riding his high above everyone else, and he's so divorced from everyone else until he realizes he needs their help again. You know, until he realizes that he until he realizes what it's actually done to him, and he falls back down so hard. Yeah, honestly, same thing like you said, just spinning it a little differently.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a fair take. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Mm, I was
Because
thinking.
honestly, I think that's it for me.
Hmm, I think that might be. I think that for me too. I was trying to think about the science behind everything again, but we talked about the obvious stuff.
Yeah.
We talked about um, I the animal relation to human being. I don't know.
Well, I
That's it.
mean, you're the scientist.
Well, very tenuously.
Well,
Uh, but yeah, I we talked about hubris. Yeah, everything's good.
a nice little sum up. Okay. All right. That was the 1986 horror classic The Fly, directed by David Cronenberg and starring Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. And as Donald Glover once said, I'm too fly, Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, I hope he did see that.
He did. All right. Watch movies, everyone. Watch every horror movie imaginable for the horror season.
I hope Jeff Goldblum spits acid on me.
Oh my god. That scene disturbed me the most when I first saw this movie.
He's gotta be a fly. Oh, actually, that was one thing I forgot about. Like I was
Okay.
saying, the relation to man and human. It really seems like he becomes more fly, you know? But
That's what I always thought too, yeah, like, he's really has all these real fly attributes that, like, it's like, where's his humanity is, like, mostly gone, like, his humanity mostly exists in the material that his body is composed of, like the flesh, everything else is, becoming more fly.
mhm, mhm. But I definitely think it's the 50-50 thing. Obviously, this is just the writers. We really don't know how much is actually 50-50 if he is actually 50-50. But for sake of argument, saying that he's 50-50, I do think that it's interesting that, to us it seems like he's more fly, but in reality, maybe like being h- half human and half fly, like maybe we are closer to the flies than we think. Maybe being part of that animal already, it's just this is what the shared body actually looks like.
Yeah, that's interesting. Also, on set, the creature, was referred to as Brundle Thing at the end of the movie when he fuses with the telepod.
I love that.
Mhm. And also Brundle Booth.
Rundle Booth.
Brundle Booth.
Just
Alright.
like I said, using your premise to the fullest extent. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. I love the Brundle Booth.
Me too.
Alright. That was our episode. Hope you guys had a good time or whatever. Hope you didn't get too mad about the abortion talk.
And if you're religious, fuck you. I'm just joking.